All right, good evening, everybody, and especially for Mr. Rahman. We're from the last group. It's also the group number 11. So today we're gonna present our presentation. It's about binomial discrete probability. Before we start the presentation, let me introduce ourselves. Okay, the member is the first is me, it's Abdul Rofiq, and the second is Maulana Ainun R, and there Della Wibisono and Amelia Ryan Ayu A and Maulidya Salma, and the last one is Ariq Al Khasyi. Okay, we're gonna start the presentation. It's Ariq third, so the time is yours.
Okay, I'm going to continue the presentation. First is definition of discrete probability. Discrete probability is a sample which is containing an infinite number of sample or a never-ending row of elements which is as many as the number of numbers. And the meaning of binomial. Binomial is a probability distribution that can be used when a sampling process can be assumed according to the Bernoulli process. And the next slide is Maulana.
The characteristics of binomial probability. Each experiment produces two events. A. The birth of child, boy, boy, girl. B. Stock transaction, sell, buy. And C. Interest rate development, increase, decrease, and etc. The probability of an event for succeeding or failing is fixed for each event. P. Chance of success, Q and chance of fail, and the formula is P plus Q. An experiment with a free trial. The resulting data is calculation of the data.
The background value prediction is important to do for every student. The students can predict how much scores they can get if they have the same ability when did the exercise. With the calculation of predictions, students can determine what kind of steps that is appropriate in order to get better grades in the future.
The respondent, number one, respondents come from all members from the group, which is all of the members are part of the linear algebra class that have completed the number two, picking up the data using qualitative documentation technique. Number three, data from respondents are the result of short quiz that can be seen by a learning quiz. Number four, the quiz also as trial quiz for the students before the class exam.
All right, this is the first data, so I'm gonna be the first respondents. So Rafiq did 12 questions with 6 true questions and 6 false questions. From the data above, we can conclude that the true probability is a half and the false probability is a half. So this is the standard deviation formula, and we got 1.773, and then we find mean. It's 6, and this is the binomial distribution chart. Okay, we got 2 questions here. So the first one is how much Rafiq probability to answer 10 from 12 questions correctly. So this is the formulas, and we got the result is 0.0161. Right, the second question is if the minimum score for passing the exam must be up to 75%, so how much the probability for Rafiq to pass? All right, the formula is probably same, and the difference is we're gonna only calculate about the result of F10 until F12. So we get the result is the probability of it to pass is 1.0 92%.
And for Maulana did 12 question with 8 true question and 4 false question. From the data above, we can conclude that true probability is 0.67 and the false probability is 0.33. And there is the binomial distribution chart, and there is two formulas. Is there is main formulas we got 8.04, and the standard deviation formulas is we got 1.63. Next. And there is two question. The first question is how much Maulana's probability to answer 10 from 12 question correctly. And there is the formulas and the calculation we got 0.131015. And the second question is if the minimum score for passing the exam must up to 80%, so how much the probability for Maulana to pass? And there is the formulas and the calculation. Probability Maulana to pass is 0.0566 and or equal to 5.66%.
Della did 12 questions with 7 true questions and 5 false questions. From the data above, we can conclude that the probability is 0.58 and false probability is 0.42 with mean that is 6.96 and standard deviation that is S that is 1.71. Next, please. How much Della's probability to answer 10 from 12 questions correctly? From the slide, we can conclude that is the probability is 0.05. And then how much the probability for Della to get the best score? And we can get that Della's probability to get the best score for or perfect score is 0.0014. Amel did 12 questions with 8 true questions and 4 false questions. From the data above, we can conclude that true probability is 0.67 and false probability is 0.33. And then the calculation result of standard deviation is 1.63 and the calculation of mean is 8.04. And this is the binomial distribution chart. Next. And first question, how much Amel's probability to answer 10 from 12 question correctly? The calculation and the result is 0.131015. And the second question, if the minimum score for passing the exam is up to 60%, so how much the probability for Amel to pass? This is the calculation, and the probability Amel to pass is 0.4027 or 40.27%.
Lydia, 12 questions with 8 true questions and 4 false questions. From the data above, we can conclude that the true probability 0.67 and false probability 0.33. Here's the binomial distribution chart and the calculation of mean, and the result is 8.04. And here's the standard deviation. The result 1.53. First question, how much is Lydia's probability to answer 10 from 12 questions correctly? Here's the calculation and the result is 0.131015. And the second question is if the minimum score for passing the exam must be up to 8%, so how much the probability for Lydia to here's the calculation and the probability to pass is 0.0566 or 5.66%.
Okay, this the last respondent is me. Ariq did 12 questions with 11 true questions and 1 false questions. From the data above, we can conclude that the true probability of Ariq is 0.92 and the false probability of Ariq is 0.08. And the calculation of mean is 11.04, and this is the standard deviation. The result is 0.94, and this is the Ariq's binomial distribution chart. Next, please. This is the question. First question is how much Ariq's probability to answer 10 from 12 questions correctly. This is the formula, and the result is 0.18. And the second question, how much the probability for Ariq to get the best score? If Ariq want to get the best score, Ariq must be do it the 12 question correctly. So the result or the probability of Ariq is 0.37.
From the presentation, we can conclude that with binomial probability, the students can calculate scores prediction for each of them. The student also can stimulate various events based on the real data. From the prediction to reach past minimal scores, prediction to hit the current score, even the prediction to get best score in exam. As much as possible stimulate that happen next, the student can prepare the exam more appropriate that according to the prediction which they made. Okay.
All right, that's all about our presentation. So we're gonna say thank you about everybody who watched and listened our presentation patiently, especially for our lecture is Mr. Rahman. So and then we're gonna would to apologize about our bad pronunciation or about something else. So it's such an honor to present our presentation right here. So thank you for listening and watching. See you for the next project. Goodbye.